At Option Genius, we believe that you deserve freedom, financial freedom, so that you have no more worries and more than enough money. Time freedom, so that you could do what you want, when you want to do it. And choice freedom, to live your life on your terms. But the system and Wall Street are rigged against those little guys. So how do we fight back? Well, my friend, that's what this podcast is all about. My name is Alan Sama, and this is the Option Genius Podcast. All right, Genius Nation, welcome to another edition of the podcast. I have a very special guest with me today. And before I tell you why she's on, I'm going to tell you a little bit about her. Today we have Miss Tina Marie Jones St. Cyr. And not only is she the only person I know with 5 words in her name, she is also my personal coach. And I wanted to let you know why I brought her on, what her qualifications are. Now, she's a personal coach. She's a business coach. She is an author. She's been doing this for over 30 years, worked with Microsoft, NASA, Shell, all these big names. But for me, it was really started, I think it was like about a year ago, right, Tina Marie? Yeah, it was about 14 months ago. And my life really was in a rut, to be honest. I haven't shared this with anybody, but it was in a rut physically. I was way overweight and just tired all the time. Mentally, I wasn't there for my kids. I wasn't there for my wife. Business, my trading wasn't doing that well. My business was not really growing. It was stable, but it wasn't growing. I was just trying different things. I was very frustrated with it. And, it's just, especially with my wife, it just became like, we were pretty much roommates at that time. The love was still there, but there was no communication. There was no bonding, really. We had just had the third baby, the third child, and we had 2 little boys, and it was just basically, we're looking out for them. You're eating, going to sleep, going to work, doing the whole thing over again. It just was day to day, pretty much sucky rut. And I'm the kind of person who likes to figure things out for myself. So I have in my house, in my library, I have every single personal development, self-improvement book out there. And so I read them and I'll do some of the exercises and I'll be like, oh, that was great. And then nothing would change. So at that point, I've realized, maybe I need somebody to actually hold me accountable. And I said, let me go and get a coach. So I looked online, tried to find somebody in Houston, and that's when I found Tina Marie's website and went to the website. She had all this stuff on there that I really didn't understand. And she had this one thing that was called Abolish the Inner Saboteur. And I was like, what the heck is that? What does that mean? But I was like, okay, so let me call her up. So I called and I talked to somebody and they said, yeah, we do coaching, but we also have this thing coming up. It's a weekend. It's local. It's in Houston. And I figured that, if I'm going to hire this person for coaching, I should probably know what she's all about and how she interacts with people and if it's a good fit. So I figured that it would be cheaper to go to the event than actually hire her for coaching for long term. So I was like, so let me do this thing. I'll go to the thing. If I don't like it, I could always leave. So I signed up for that event. And I didn't know what to expect. I didn't know what it was all about. I mean, it's called Abolish the Inner Saboteur. And I was like, man, I got no saboteur in me. I just need somebody to hold me accountable. So I went to this thing and the first night there's music playing and people are dancing. And I mean, what I realized first of all was that there's all these people out there with real problems. I mean, there was a lady who was, I think, 70 years old and she got raped in her apartment. There was this other lady whose daughter committed suicide, and I think in the note she was blaming the mother or something like that. There was a guy going through divorce. There was a guy sitting next to me. I remember his wife has been in a coma for multiple years. And so, I mean, he goes to work all day, then at night he goes to the hospital wherever she is and hangs out with her, and then he does it every day. And I was like, wow, compared to these people, my problems are nothing. So I was feeling good about myself at that point. And then we did this one exercise on that first night. I don't want to tell you guys what it is, but to me it was really kooky and funny and you actually have to get up and physically do something. And so I went over to the corner and I just went through the motions and, everybody else was going full blast at it and I'm just like, laughing at everybody. Really, it was just really funny. Then we sat down and then, it was cool. So I came back the second day and I think it was on the end of the second day where Tina Marie has this thing about the boxes, where you have these different boxes. And my thing I realized was, hey, I'm living inside this box. And so I got brave and I raised my hand. I said, hey, how do you get out of the box if you're living in the box? I'm in the box all the time. And it was, I guess, if I'd known what was going to happen then, I probably wouldn't have asked the question. But then she comes up and she's like, okay, well, I need you to stand up. And I was like, uh-oh. And basically she tells me, she's like, you remember the exercise we did last night? I'm like, yeah. She goes, I need you to do it again. And I'm like, no. She's like, yes, I need you to do it now in front of everybody and just go all at 100%. And I was like looking around and I'm like, all these people are looking at me, I'm like, oh, jeez, I can't do this. This was the thing I was laughing at last night. But then I started doing it, and she was helping me and we were doing it together and I started doing it. And the funny thing was the more I did it, the more I got into it, the louder I got. And the people that were sitting around me, at first they were just watching. And then towards the middle of it, they all stood up for some, one by one, they stood up and at the end, they were kind of in a semicircle around me and they were egging me on. They were like, yeah, go. And something switched. There was in my head, something just clicked, and I can't explain what happened and I don't know what happened. But at that moment, by the time I was finished, I was a different person. And so many things since then have changed because of that one instance. I went home and I acted differently with the kids. I would spend more time with them and play with them. My wife, basically, for at least 2 months after this event, she's like, what the heck happened to you? Because you are a different person. She's like, did you do some kind of voodoo or did you get drunk or high or what happened? What did you do there? Because you're totally different. And our relationship since then has been awesome. My business has more than doubled since then. My trading has been better. I mean, all around A to Z, I've lost 10 pounds. I actually exercise now and I enjoy it. I eat better. And it was just that one thing that clicked, and I was like, wow, I don't even know what happened. I can't describe it. I never would have gotten out of a book. It's just amazing. And Tina Marie, I just have to say thank you.
You're welcome.
For that. It was amazing. And so that is why I wanted to bring her on, because if anybody knows how to do emotional stuff and get over emotional stuff, it's her. And so I wanted to bring her on because the question I get asked over and over again is, Alan, I understand what you're doing. It makes sense to me. I like the way you talk. I like the way you explain things. And I know I can do this option selling stuff. Temperament-wise, time-wise, I have it. I have the money. But for some reason, I cannot pull the trigger. I was talking to somebody just, one of our students a couple of days ago where he has $500,000 just sitting there in an account. And last year, 2017, the market went up 20%. So
yep.
He easily could have made a lot of money last year if he had only just put it in the market. But he had a fear. And so, he's like, I've traded before and I've lost money. I've given money to an advisor and they've lost the money for me. I've tried to do it on my own and I made some mistakes and I lost a lot of money. And I just hear this over and over and over again. And so, Tina Marie, the question I asked you is, if I'm somebody like that, I'm an individual person, it's taken me years and years to save up my nest egg, whatever it is, it could be 20,000 or 200,000 or 500, whatever. How do I overcome this fear? How do I overcome that knowing that, I have an idea of what I want to do, I just can't get myself to do it because of the risk?
Mm-hmm. That's a great question. I'm so glad to be on the show, Alan. It's amazing. One, I'm going to answer your question. Second, you choked me up because I heard your account of what happened at Abolish. It's Abolish Your Inner Saboteur. And we're doing another one coming up here in March 23rd in Houston. And so, I had my own hiatus for a year. I don't know if you know this, but I did not do an Abolish all of 2017. And it was just a time where I call it hermiting, because I was finding my new energy and new evolution. And so to hear what you're saying helps me know that I'm right back on track. So thank you so much for sharing your story. And yes, it does transform people. And how does it happen? I can't exactly 100% tell you. Each person's a different signature in that. but I can tell you that I've seen thousands and thousands of people be freed by one simple expression of combating our fears and actually standing up to it and claiming our power again. So I want to help your listeners and your tribe do this for themselves. And I'm going to do everything I can to do this over the show and over the air and what they're listening to. However, if they can get to an experience, it's very transformational, and I want to help them understand how they can do it in their own home, because we're not given the permission to have what I call our full range of emotions, and that's where a lot of our cultural programming keeps us stuck. So let's just start there if we can.
Well, I gotta say that, after this event, I wasn't the only one that was changed. I mean, you touched a lot of people there, and they had a lot of issues. A lot of people maybe not everybody broke through and had amazing life-changing experience, but a lot of them did. And so afterwards, there were people that you interact with on a day-to-day basis, and you hear them talk about, my life is like this, and my husband is like this, or why does this happen to me? And I'm like, man, you need to go to that thing. You need to go for that weekend. And there are some people that, for example, my mother-in-law, she doesn't listen to the podcast, so I'll make fun of her. I was like, okay, you know what? I will pay for her to go because I don't want to hear her stuff anymore. I don't want to hear her complaining anymore. If she could just take advantage and say, okay, your life is wonderful. Stop complaining about every little thing. Take a look at the bright side and take control. Basically, that's what it is, right? Take control of your life.
It's responsibility. And so back on your first question, this really segues back into that really well, is that how do we overcome our fears of making a decision and sticking with it and having faith in it and certainty? The truth is, whenever we look at the human dynamic of decision making, we're going to base our decisions on getting our needs met. And every single one of us, if we look at, what you're choosing to wear today, where you live, what career you have, how you're in relationship with certain people or not in relationship with other people at this point in your life, what grocery store you shop at, what foods you eat, what TV shows you watch, all of them are being decided based on our human needs matrix. And I'm going to quickly give you the 6 human needs. And from that, I want to tell you what and maybe you remember as the 5 C's and how those lay on top. So the 6 human needs: certainty, uncertainty, significance, love and connection, growth, and contribution. Now, those 6 human needs are dictating every single one of our decisions. And so for somebody who's fearing a decision, what I know for certain is that they are stuck in certainty. I want to know that whenever I'm going to invest this time, this money, this attention towards something, that I'm going to get a payback. And so if we've got an expectation, that's already creating a stuck vibration inside of our ability to make a decision, because we're basing what we're going to do now on something that hasn't even happened yet. And we're wanting it to work out. Now, I can completely understand whenever we're wanting to invest our money, we want to have some understanding of a measurement that we're not going to make poor decisions, bad decisions. We're going to do it whenever we think our money is going to be invested wisely and make more money. I know, I do it too. However, we can't predict the future, especially in the market. So what do? We base things on as much information as we can possibly predict right now, but not too much. If we go on too much, it's going to create instability and panic, anxiety inside of us. So pick the 2 or 3 markers that you trust. 2 or 3 markers that you're looking at and say, I can see that. That's going to work. And as long as I have this level of certainty, I can make this amount of decision and move forward. Now, measure often, especially when it comes to money in the marketplace. You do this with your students and with the people that have followed your program. Measure often. We've got to measure. Don't just invest and then hope. I said, don't be high on hopium. If somebody's high on hopium, they're going to set themselves up for failure. Mm-hmm. We've got to participate. We've got to show up. We've got to do what we're being taught and apply those things. Because if we don't, at the end of the day, we're going to regret. I know I should have done that. I was supposed to do that. Damn it, I didn't do that. And so if we have regret, remorse, fear, depression, anything like that, it's just going to compound on top of each other. So for your listeners right now, if you have any regret, remorse, resentment, guilt, frustration, depression about some things that happened in the past, I ask you to do this. Draw a line in the sand. It's a proverbial line in the sand. It's right where you stand today. Just go, I'm drawing a line, and what I'm going to choose right now to do is to leave behind me all the crap that's the psychic weight on top of me, the guilt, the remorse, the regret, I should have, the supposed to's, all that stuff, the bad decisions. We've got to make a conscious choice to no longer be plagued with the psychic weight of bringing that burden into our future for one more minute. I mean, what's it serving? I mean, really, what is it serving? Nothing. Mm-hmm. So we draw a line in the sand and stand up and do this. This isn't some kind of, people go, oh yeah, I can hear that, and that sounds like that makes so much sense. I can make that decision right now. Of course, yeah. I do not believe in allowing the mind to think yourself into forward progress. 80% of the decisions we make start in one place that so many people fail to recognize. And you've learned this, Alan. It's 80% is in our physiology. What does that mean? 80% is in our body. Our body that we've been given here has so much intelligence in it, and we fail to recognize it and even honor it.
Yeah.
So whenever you're doing this exercise, stand up, stand at a line. You can even get a rope and put it across, an extension cord. I don't care what it is. You can put a sword down if you want to make some significant meaning to this process, but put something down and you consciously decide, here where I stand right now. I am freeing myself of the baggage of the stuff that has plagued my mind and held me hostage. All the sad stories, all the stuff that I was a failure, all the reasons why my ancestors screwed up, or my dad screwed up, or my mom screwed up, or my brothers or sisters are failures, and I'm part of this ancestral crap lineage. I didn't go to the right school. I start off with the wrong job. I've got, 50 pounds overweight. Who's going to want to hire me? I'm in a bad relationship. Oh my God. Take it all and put it right there. Take it off like it's baggage off your back. Leave it on that side of the line and step over with purpose, saying, I'm claiming my life now, and I am not a victim to the circumstance. I no longer will tell myself sad stories, and as soon as I hear myself doing it, I'm going to tell that part of me to shut up.
Yeah. Yep.
We need to take control back from our mind. It is a computer. We program it. It does not run us.
Yeah. It's awesome how you say that, you have to get up and actually physically do it, because I think it reading a book for me, especially, reading a book, thinking about it, oh yeah, I've done it, but until I actually did the motions, until I actually did physically, it didn't make any difference.
Exactly.
And I think that, for our listeners, a lot of them the fear is there, and the fear is real, because they've had losses in the past, Mm-hmm. So either they had money invested and, it was maybe it was in a mutual fund or with a broker, and the money was lost because they were out of control, mm-hmm. right? So the market just dropped and they had no control over it. Or they gave their money to an advisor, like a registered advisor, and that person went and traded it.
And they weren't watching it.
Yeah. I mean, even if they were watching it, like I heard of stories where, mm-hmm. I gave $50,000 to this guy who was going to trade Forex for me, and within 2 weeks he lost all my money. And mm-hmm. you just after that I wouldn't trust anybody with my money if that happened to me. That's hard-earned money. You don't even know what he was doing, and it was all gone. One of the students that I was talking to this week, he's got $500,000. And he admits it. He goes, I'm very risk adverse. I'm very scared. So we worked through a particular strategy, how to sell naked calls or naked puts, sorry. Mm-hmm. And he understands the strategy. He's done it for a while. I didn't have to teach him anything about the strategy because he already knows it and he does it. But what I was shocked to hear was that he only does maybe 1 or 2 contracts. And in dollar terms, he has a $500,000 account. One contract is maybe $1,000 or $2,000. That's all he's risking. And
can I ask a couple, hypothetical questions here? So
yeah,
maybe
sure.
You could help me. Let's play devil's advocate and do some role play here. And also I want to let your listeners know I know that sting. I lost $80,000 over that in one day back with a crash of 2008. So, and I remember talking to my broker, And I went, that was not your job to make me broker. But I've made that money back by 4 or 5 times. So I'm happy where things are. So this is what I want to understand and help your listeners understand. That $500,000 for this person. So he has it in the account. Okay. Mm-hmm. So what we need to know is, what does that $500,000 equal in his mind? There's some certainty about that $500,000 that's keeping it stuck. Here's a formula for you. Certainty equals safe. Safe equals stuck. So somewhere in that $500,000, he's already mapped out multiple uses for that money in the future, that if he does anything with it right now, it's going to risk the ability to have those decisions that are way in the future actually happen. So he's created a box of purpose for this $500,000. And even though it looks like he's invested in this account, and he looks like he's willing to take the risk and invest and make more, and though it looks like he's taking your course and he wants to apply it, the truth is the reason why he's not moving the money or doing anything with it is there's already a lot of purpose and meaning to that $500,000, that if he risks it, there's something out there in the future that's going to fall apart. This is all fear-based because the future we cannot predict, but we need to know. Where's that $500,000 already spent, purposed, used in the future, that he does not want to lose that meaning, significance, love and connection, growth or contribution that he's already programmed into it.
So he's already spent it? Is that what you're saying?
In his mind. Mm-hmm. So it could be, it's my retirement. Let's just play that one, right? It's my retirement. So in order to free that in somebody's mind is, okay, let's just take $500,000 in, let's say 10 years, 15 years. How much does that buy you in a lifestyle? Nothing. Hardly anything nowadays. Honestly, maybe 2 years, 3 years, 4 years. But it's not going to grow. That's coming out of the account, going into somebody else's accounts, and those are done. We need to paint a picture for that $500,000 to become $1 million, $2 million, 2.5, $3 million. We need to have that $500,000 grow and actually see the meaning for the $2 million, $3 million in the future being something of more significance, purpose, need, growth, contribution to the $500,000 a year. So in that comparison, we'll say, I must. It has to turn into a must. I must learn how to invest this. I must. And yeah, you can take baby steps and then you measure. Did it work? Did it not work? It builds trust. If it worked, great. Let's do more. 2 times that, 3 times that. Let's do it. But measure, not hope. We've got to open our eyes and take responsibility for where we really want to go, and we need to apply it, and then stay the course. Stay the course. Fear will always want to knock us off the course. Right. But fear is just trying to stay stuck. Certainty equals safe. Safe stuff that's stuck. It's all fear-based.
Okay. So let's say this fellow has the 500,000, and the best way for him to start getting some traction and start getting some movement would be to what? To really scare himself into thinking that, I need to do something to make it a must? Or is there another way?
Well, there's a couple other questions I'd ask him. If you were sitting at my coaching table and you're with me because you're the guru here, not me in the money side, I trust people like you and my advisors to do this for me, is I'd ask him, okay, so what, outside of this $500,000, what else of your estate do you have invested? Where is it? What's your plan? What's your long-term range plan? Let's put it down to paper and put some numbers to it. How many people you're supporting? What's that going to look like? What's inflation? Tax burdens, things like that. Take into consideration. Where are things? And if this $500,000 is too huge of a number based on where the other things are and what his needs and his risk aversion is, we say, take the money out. If you need $400,000 in that in a different vehicle that's going to give you more certainty, do that and start with $100,000. We need to be realistic. So what part of him, this is my question I ask him, what part of him decided to start with $500,000? If he say, I'm willing to lose all of it, then let's go for it. If he says, I can't lose but 100,000 of that, well then let's draw it back and let's start with what you're okay with losing. Not that we're aiming to lose it, but we need to take the fear out. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So we need to get the lay of the land. He needs to have a lay of the land for himself, because what if and I've been in the place where people have done this. They just go all in, like, oh, I don't know. I'm just so excited about it. It sounds so great. Oh my God, I want to go all in. They go all in. And then as soon as they push all the chips in the middle, they're like, oh shit.
Yeah.
I shouldn't have gone all in. Well, your hands are off the chips now. You're all in. And so then they're like embarrassed to say, ow, it was a bad decision. I need to move kind of half of that back. That was really bad. That was just emotional. I shouldn't have done that, and so we don't want to have, we have shame in changing our decision. Mm-hmm. We're not taught that we can renegotiate your position. It's your life, not ours. You're not going to lose respect for me if you're smart. Do what you need. Have courage to speak up. And then start with what does feel like, this feels like I can do it. Because if it's energized and we feel like, and you learned this, Alan, if it's energy rich, heck yeah, let's go for this. This is pretty cool. Let's have fun. I am totally in. But what we're seeing is evidence. He's not energy rich. He's energy poor. He's got fear. Their fear will always keep us stuck. So we need to evaluate where did the fear originate? What's it tied to? What's the meaning? And start where fear isn't.
Okay. All right. Cool. So now, so that was one person, right? That was the thing where, hey, I have this money. But is it the same thing for somebody who has a different fear? Like another student of mine was very close to retirement age. So he was actually, he probably should have been retired already. He's already 70 years old.
Right.
And so this is all I have. How do I overcome that fear of, I'm going to be on the street if I mess this up?
Well, it's similar. What can you balance to say, I'm willing to learn and grow through this part? If it's all chips in, depending on where they are, I'm not a financial advisor or fiduciary, but I wouldn't do that with my money if I'm at 70 and it's all I have. Mm-hmm. What mindset's going to go 100% all in at that age? Let's be smarter than that.
Right.
There's another thing that grips people in fear, and it is what I call the 5 C's. And in the 5 C's, there's 4 of them that really don't fit what we're talking about right here, but I want to let them know. These are things that fuel fear and keep us stuck. One is complaining. Whenever we complain about anything, that is not an energizing activity. It'll keep us stuck in the mundane or, that normal life that nobody wants to live. Or says they don't. So there's complaining. Criticizing is making other people wrong. Condemning is judgment across the board. Commiserating is telling the sad story again and again and again and again. And people go, will you stop telling that sad story? But more than that is we tell the sad story inside of our own brain. We don't even have to vocalize it if we're thinking it's a sad story. The last one is the biggest one. The last 5C is the biggest one. And it's comparing. When we compare our circumstance of where things are now to anybody else, we lose power in there, and then we fuel fear. If we compare ourselves to any past version of ourselves, which I knew this one. I had an estate that was worth, more than $10 million at one point in my life. I'm rebuilding right now. Mm-hmm. And I'm doing really well. But if that part of me goes back to the past and goes, well, you used to be worth over $10 million and you had 2 houses and a plane and all these cars, and what the hell's wrong with you? If I do that, there's no way I'm going to fuel my present self and decision making and forward progress. It would just stay stuck in the past. And then the other comparing is when we compare ourselves to our future self. And say, even we go, well, whenever I get there, whenever I arrive there, then, and we don't presence ourselves and have joy and fulfillment and satisfaction and celebration in this moment, or the future self is, whenever I get there, I can be happy. When I finally reach that place, I'll be happy. That is so paralyzing. So for any of your listeners and students that are doing any of those 5 C's, especially comparing, if we're comparing our money position and what other people are making and what we're not making and where the market is and what we should be seeing and all that kind of stuff, all of that crazy mental acrobatic is going to create more fear, keep us stuck in a place where we cannot feel certain about our decisions.
Right. And I know for a lot of our for new traders, it's not just them comparing, it's somebody else comparing them. So a lot of and this happened to me when I was learning how to trade. You know, my wife was always like, "Hey, you're losing all this money," you know, and she's comparing me to what I should be doing. Like I had to sell her.
Exactly.
I had to sell her on being able to trade. You know, like, oh, okay, I'm going to make this much and I'll be able to do this and I'm going to do that. And then when I didn't work out in the beginning, you know, because I didn't know what I was doing in the beginning, so I was losing, then she would compare me to what I told her it should have been. And then that made it even worse.
Yeah. And sometimes we set ourselves up for that.
Yeah.
With the people around us. And so she was banking her certainty on your progress. And because your progress wasn't happening, her certainty is now at risk. And so, yeah, whenever we're in relationship, that's a different story. But we need to preface the you know, you were in a project, you were learning things of that nature. You need to just say, you know what, I'm learning along this process. It may look rough. And the truth is, I know that you're going to support me either which way. And, you know, if their certainty is based on our certainty, that's called interdependence or codependence. And we need to have those courageous conversations and help the people around us elevate themselves so that they create their own certainty. And we are not that source. I know this. I've got a 24-year-old son who's, you know, still lives with me, and I've given him till the end of February. We're coming up on it, that he's supposed to be out. I'm reminding him it's a countdown right now, and so I was his certainty, and now, you know, the communications around the house are a little tense.
Yeah.
Because he's like, but Mom, I was like, yeah, well, but son, you know, like, I know you'll figure this out. I gave you a full year. So, like, here you go. Out of the nest you go.
But so he's facing a lot of the same issues. He's afraid of what's going to happen. He's unsure of what's going to be, what the future is going to hold. So how is he dealing with it?
Well, you know, if we come from energy and possibility, which I'm that person in his life, he knows it. He goes, Mom, you've always got a good outlook on everything. Why is that? It's because if we can hold anywhere from 4 to 5, possibly even 6 different perspectives on a situation, if we can stretch our minds and stretch our emotions to fuel the possibility that one from A to Z pathway may not be the only way. If we can say, what if? And fuel that part of our mind that has the ability to imagine different outcomes and create these possibilities and these opportunities, then the world becomes magical. The world is full with wonder, and we're not fooling ourselves. That's how energy works inside of the human system. Whenever we cannot see perspective, whenever we're just looking in one direction, we are totally blinded and we are stuck. So open up the mind, and I tell them, what's possible for you? Just let's think about it. What's possible? Living in my garage is not possible. But what's possible for you? And so he knows this, and it does take discipline to get up. And again, the physiology, Alan, you cannot have perspective and possibility mindset and thinking sitting on a couch, sitting on a chair. You've got to stand up. Even Richard Branson taught me this when I interviewed him. I love that man. I'm going to get him on my new show. Is that he says, I do not do any of my creative process sitting on my bum. I get up and walk around. And he knows this. His entire team, they know. They are so in shape because they walk a lot. But they know if we're having a meeting, it is not going to be around a board table. We know we are all walking down the sidewalk, walking down the beach, walking down the mall, doing something, walking. And we have a pad of paper and we have a pen. And we're interacting while we're walking. And then we'll stand and we'll talk and we'll move and we'll walk again. But they know that the human mind does not create its most brilliant, genius way of being by sitting. But Edison's lab, Edison's place, he had chairs, like stools, but he never sat in them. He was always standing and walking around. Why is that? Our physical being needs to have circulation. These standing desks that are now new, I mean, they've been around about 10 years, but now they're like all the rage. Right. We are going to have geniuses come out of standing desks. Why? We're standing up. It's awesome. I do that. I stand. I'm always moving. You know this. You've watched me. But this is what we need to do. If you truly want to make a decision of perspective, possibility, wonder, amazement, what if, out there thinking we must move our body.
Right. But I think I mean, talking to you is like a fire hose. I mean, you've said like 1,000 different things, and I'm still like, trying to, what did she say? What? I don't get that. I need an example. What? Because the thing you just mentioned just before this was about the possibilities. What are the possibilities? And one of the things I've noticed is that a lot of these traders have a very hard time coming up with different possibilities. So it's either, okay, I'm going to put the trade on, and either this happens or this happens, and that's it. Those are the two choices. I'm either going to lose money or I'm going to make money. And that's, I mean,
what if in the process we're learning?
Yeah, but in the end, in the end, that's true, right? You're either going to make or you're going to lose. But how you get there are a zillion different ways to get there. So, one of the things that we were just talking about it with somebody is that, so he has money that he wants to invest, but, it was very common to what we were talking about, the fear aspect is like, you don't have to do all of it right now.
No,
you can do part of it. You can do portions of it. You can even do what we have. It's called paper trading or virtual trading.
I do that just to see what if scenarios so I can map my thinking and make sure that my thinking is sound. And I need to do it 3, 4, 5, 6 times so that I can prove my method.
Exactly.
Yeah, paper trading is awesome.
Yes, I mean, if you're afraid of it, it's not the same thing as real trading mentally because you don't have anything at risk, really. But if you take it seriously, you can use it to get some confidence built in. And I think that part of that fear goes away when you've done it over and over again and you have the process. You've done it physically, like you said, when you go through the motions, when you find a trade, when you analyze it, when you put it on, and when you exit it. Even if it's not real, I mean, I don't know if your brain can tell the difference between if it's a real trade or not, but, those pathways are being formed that you're doing and you're going through it over and over and over and over again. And then finally, when you do commit to some real money and you start out small, it works out because you've done it before.
It's awesome. Yeah, I believe that too. And you mentioned early on, Alan, about the emotional side of this. What I know about emotions is that we can command those. It's just nervous system energy coming through our body. So if we do have fear, to not try to resist it, is just go in and say, what's the fear wanting me to know? Usually there is an intelligence there the fear isn't going, get the hell out now, run for your lives. It's not doing that. It's just saying, there's a part of us that may not have been as in awareness as we could have been while we're either learning or applying what we're learning or paying attention. So we've got to be honest. If I'm multitasking, let's say, just for instance, if you've got wonderful students that are learning your systems, and while they're learning it, they know they've been multitasking. They're listening to music. They've got a distracting situation at home, maybe kids doing stuff, or maybe they're at Starbucks doing it instead of being more diligent in a more secluded classroom environment. If they know while they're getting this information put into their brains that they haven't been the best student they could be and that they haven't given 100% of themselves out, they are into it. They are seeding doubt all the way through the learning process. So just pause and take account of, have I really gotten what I should have been getting? Have I committed myself to this fully? Or have I just dabbled? Have I just had one foot in and maybe one hand in and maybe all social media in here and all that kind of stuff? Get honest with yourself. If you truly want this to be a vehicle for your wealth, your financial vitality, then you need to commit 100%. I was interviewing this one lady and she wanted to lose weight. And I said, great, so what are you committed to do? And she goes, well, I've committed to walk every single day. And I said, so have you done this week? She goes, well, it was raining on Monday, so I didn't go. I said, whoa, wait. You said you committed every single day to walk. And she goes, yeah, but the mall was, is raining. It should have been out on the streets. You didn't say that you committed to walking every day at the mall. You said you committed every day to walking. You've already broken your promise to yourself. I said, are you married? And she said, yes. And I said, whenever you took your vows, did you commit to every day being faithful to your husband? Well, of course, it's what it's about. I said, well, what if on Monday you just decided, I'm not going to be faithful today, but tomorrow I'll be faithful? Would you think he'd be okay with that? And she said, no. I said, would you be okay with him going, well, maybe 2 to 3 days out of the week I'm going to be committed. But other than that, I'm just going to be sort of lax on my vows. She goes, no. I said, well, we lie to ourselves more than anybody else lies to us. So this is what happens with our brain and our emotions and our mentality. is if we are committed to something, if we decide, we need to be 100% committed to that, especially with what you're doing with them, Alan. Money is the vehicle of our happiness, whether or not we want to admit it or not. We need money in our life to have a lifestyle. We need money in our life to have certainty, to give to our families, to have contribution into the world. We must have it. And so whenever you are helping them build wealth, if they are 100% committed in this, you will be able to tell the students that have been paying attention, the ones that have been studying, the ones that have been doing exactly what you're asking them to do, because they will not have hesitance in what you tell them to do, and they will do it, and they will follow through, and they will reap the rewards, because you are a great mentor telling them step by step what they need to do and how they need to measure it. And when they pay attention, the fear will be gone. The ones that have fear are the ones that could honestly raise their hand if they're in front of you going, yeah, I was the one that sort of half-assed this. And I'm so sorry. Let me start over, because I seeded my own self-doubt. It's not your program. It was totally me. Let's start over.
That makes sense. 'Cause, I mean, it's funny, you know, I've been doing this for a while now, and people go through the same course, and some people just take it, run with it, and have amazing results. And then other people have excuse after excuse after excuse of, oh, why they didn't do it, or why it wouldn't work for them. And they haven't even tried yet, you know?
There you go.
And they're just like, oh, no, this is, you know, my broker won't let me. My wife is going to get mad at me. I don't think this will work. All these kinds of things, even though we've shown it to them over and over again. Look, here's this person who's, you know, it's worked for them. Here's a trade. I'll give it to you. You know, here, look, the trade worked. You know, look at this, you know, and it's funny. Just so much of trading is mental and emotional, and a lot of it is, you know, I didn't think so much about it either, but now that, you know, talking to you about it again, I've realized, yeah, you know, people trade better when they feel better, when they feel better about themselves, when they're in a better environment.
Completely.
And it's crazy. But I know that we've taken up a lot of your time, and you've dropped so many, you know, so much information. I know people are going to have to go and re-listen to this one, you know, 3 or 4 times, because you've said so many different things. You know, we started off with, I forgot what you called it, but it was the 6, what was it? The 6th,
6 human needs.
The 6 human needs, and then we went over the 5 C's, and then we talked about the boxes, and we talked about a whole bunch of stuff.
Yes.
And I mean, honestly, when we did that weekend, we spent hours on each one of those. So just talking about it in this one little podcast does not do it justice. So folks, I urge you to, you know, get more information about this. If you are having trouble with your trading, if you're afraid of getting back into the market, if you're afraid of taking the next big step, or, you know, sometimes like what I had a problem with earlier on was I was doing really good trading in small amounts, you know, like $30,000, $40,000. But then when I went to make the jump to $150,000, $200,000, $300,000, everything was the same. The systems were the same. The trades were the same, but it was just that one extra zero at the end that, you know, it took me a while mentally to get over that hump where I could do it properly. So, you know, Tina Marie, where can people find out more information about you?
Well, two things. Yeah, my company website is tinamarie.com, pretty easy, TINAMARIE.com, and then you can find all my programs there and my corporate training and things of that nature. And then if you want to listen to the podcast, which is launching, it is Unleash Your Extraordinary. We all want to live extraordinary lives and be extraordinary in the world. So unleashyourextraordinary.com.
Okay, so that's coming up, right? You haven't launched it yet.
March 4th.
March 4th. Okay. So Unleash Your Extraordinary. We'll have the links to both of these in the show notes.
You're great, Alan.
And when is the weekend again? The Abolish weekend?
It is March 23rd. March 23rd coming up here in Houston. They just find it on tinamarie.com.
Okay. And that is what, 3 days or 2 days?
This one is just going to be one night. We're doing a
one night
jam session. In fact, if you want to come in, you get a refresher. It's awesome. And it is only $97 for that night. We go from 7 till 11 p.m. and it will transform your life. I absolutely guarantee it.
Okay. Awesome. Okay. So yeah, I think I'm going to come. I think I'm going to bring some people.
It'll be fun.
Well, I mean, you're only doing it once, right? So I mean, I don't want to be there with my mother-in-law.
No, we are committed to doing this every 2 months. So if you miss March, we're going to do it again in May.
Okay. All right, cool. But yeah, but if somebody like, our audience is all over the country, so if they can't make it, definitely go to tinamarie.com. She has other stuff there that can help you out. And she's also my coach. So if any of this stuff is bothering you or you need to overcome it, give her a call, get a coach. Seriously, after that weekend, a lot of things changed for me, my emotions, my thoughts, but I still had some kind of fears. I still had some doubts. And one of those things I'll tell you guys is that the shift happened when I decided that, I wasn't content on just living my life and doing my own trading. I actually wanted to go out and make a difference. And to do that, I have to get the word out there about the way I trade and about options and passive trading in particular. And so I realized that in order to do that, I need to grow my company, get the word out. That's why we started the podcast and the newsletter and all this stuff. But I've had friends tell me over the years that, hey, Alan, you need to get an office. Stop working from home. I was like, man, that's the dream, man. I want to work from home. I get to play with my kids whenever I want. I just walk upstairs in my pajamas. But but the thing is, to really grow your company and get the word out there and even to be more productive, they were telling me you got to get an office. And I fought it. And then Tina, when we started working together, that was the same thing you told me. You need to get an office. But you told me something that really flipped the switch for me again, which was, go find yourself an executive suite and you don't have to commit to it. You can only do it for a month or two. You can get a month or two lease and just try it out. Try it out. And I don't know if you knew that they don't do the month-to-month leases but they don't do month-to-month leases on offices. And so I had to go out. And when I got started with that process, when I started looking at different offices, I got really jazzed about it. And so even though the shortest term were 6 months, I still went ahead with it. I still went and did it. And since then, it's been incredible. We have a staff now. We have new products coming out. We have new services.
Awesome.
And our reach has grown dramatically. We have like over 1,000 people that listen to this podcast every time we put it out, which is amazing, Well,
what I know is that wherever we find comfort, this is one of those formulas. So I'll let you know behind the coach's mind what I did. So where we find comfort, we will always find stuck. If we're growing, we need to move to the green growing edges of our lives and reach for uncomfortableness and become familiar with it and intrigued with it and curious with it and arms wide open. What's next? What's going to be fun? And we look at it as adventure as opposed to it's something that's going to do us in. It's going to create us. And that's what I was doing. I was pushing you out of your nest so you can go find fun and frivolity and wonder, because I know you're a play personality. And for those people that don't know their personality types, I map those things too. But play personalities have to be out in the world doing fun things. Not at home in their pajamas. Even if they're funky, cool pajamas.
Well, once in a while, right? Once in a while, I can still stay home.
Yeah.
All right. So, Tina Marie, I appreciate this. This was wonderful. I know we're going to get a lot out of it. And again, anybody, if you need help, TinaMarie.com.
I'm going to give you a ka-ching button. So, ka-ching button, here we go. Go make some money. Make some happiness in the world.
Cool. Thank you so much, Tina Marie.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Want to know how to choose the perfect option trade for every trading situation? It's easy. Just download our free trading map and it'll tell you. Just go to optiongenius.com/map.